Mhm.
Hi everyone, Claudette here with my great, amazing co-host Sharona.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Claudette. Glad to be here today. Woo!
And today we're here for another episode of Conversations That Matter Most. I'm so glad that you're here today. And if this is the first time, welcome. I hope you're here for a good treat. And if you've been here before, thank you for being here. We enjoy having you. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about, should we be questioning or believing everything we read and hear? And, there's so much stuff out there that we thought it would be a great conversation to have about, is it all believable? And should we not question what we're hearing and believing? And so before we jump in our conversation, I just want to introduce you to who we are, what we do, and so that you get to know us a little bit. So Sharona, why don't you start with who you are and what you do and who do you help?
Thanks, Claudette. Hi, everybody. My name is Sharona. I am known as the Midlife Women Dancing with Change Specialist. And as the title says, I work with, support, inspire midlife women who may be struggling or feeling overwhelmed or underwhelmed, or they're just not sure where their next step is on their journey in midlife, and so that they don't, and maybe feeling that you're just surviving and they're not really thriving. So my whole heart purpose, can I say that, is to help and support and guide and coach midlife women to not only survive midlife, but to actually thrive wholeheartedly in body, mind, and spirit, one action step at a time. That's what I'm about. How about you, Claudette?
Awesome. And I love that you're working with midlife women, because I think that's an important stage in our lives that, you know, that we tend to question, where we are, right?
Right.
So myself, I'm Claudette Chenevert, and I work with stepmoms, helping them build and create stronger and healthier step families. And like Sharona, I take them from surviving to thriving, one step at a time. And I think that's one of the things that connected us together, Sharona and myself, is that we wanted to take women from being just in survival mode into a thrival mode, because there's a lot more, you know, purpose and joy and happiness when you're thriving rather than just surviving in your life. And so, I really help stepmoms, understand what their roles are in their relationship, helping them to, be themselves and enjoy being a stepmom and deal with all the chaos that can bring into this. And so this is what I do. And the other thing that, a lot of people are doing is, well, let's go back. So one of the reasons we wanted to do this show or this episode about questioning or believing whatever you read and hear is, it started with an article that my husband gave me about MRIs, fMRIs, and their data. Actually, the title of the article is there a God, or do something about is there a God? And it linked to a study that was done about fMRIs, where there was 70% of false positives that were created in the last, I think it was 5 years, something around like that, where there was a glitch in the software, where when people read it created these false positives. And one of the one student, I forget which university, had said that he had taken a salmon, like a fish, a dead fish, and had done an an fMRI on it, and it showed brain activity. Now the fish is dead, and it's a fish, and it did not have human activity. So he started to publish this, but no one wanted to hear it, and so it sparked in me the idea of why is it that we're not questioning what we're reading, right, Sharona? And we had that conversation earlier this week about why is it that we're so afraid of questioning, or maybe is it that we're afraid of questioning what we're reading?
You know what? I think there's a lot going on here. And when we had our conversation about this ourselves on Monday, we went really deep and really hard, and we questioned all kinds of things. And um, I have a background where I have healthy skepticism. I do question, not a lot of I do when I read things online or read things in the newspaper, or I always like to um question it. Is it true? Is this true? And so, because there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't. And of course, truth is in the eye of the beholder. Who's putting this out? And one of the things I came to realize is there's this thing I know from previous generations, there's this thing about authority that, especially if the doctor or the medical profession says this is what it is, you usually go, okay. Sometimes it's even our hairdresser. But well, they're experts, they should know. And that's why a lot of times you'll hear in the medical profession, you get a second or third opinion. And a lot of times also, even when you're doing like remodeling, you have to go out and get 3 or 4 or 5 bids. But a lot of times what we have been doing is, I know, because we've come so attached to the to the Google and the internet, that we forget to question, is this true? I remember, and it comes around every once in a while, there was this whole thing going around about men getting under cars in gas stations and then jumping into the car as the woman pulled away. First of all, that's totally impossible. But people were really believing. And then there was another one, the story about this kid and something, and it was like, okay. So I have my resources to go and go, wait, is this true? And that's the question I always ask. Wait, hold on there. Is this really true, or is this something else going on? Let's go back to, and I'll have one more, chain letters. Remember all those times you got, and it used to come in, regular mail. You get a chain letter, and they said put in $1, and then go, and then you're by that account, through regular mail, email, and on the internet, I should have been dead 27 bazillion times.
Or rich.
Or very rich. I should be a bazillionaire by now. But that's what happens. We and especially, like now in politics, we hear the same
rhetoric
over and over. I was going to use another word, but let's keep it, friendly. Same rhetoric over and over, and so then people begin to think it's true.
Exactly. And one of the things you said, Sharona, that I want to touch on is that you were raised with a healthy dose of skepticism where you were allowed to question, right?
Right.
Where I was raised that if you asked questions, you got in big trouble. Like I remember, asking in grade school, asking questions, and really seen as being stupid for asking that question. And even in my family, if I asked questions, it was, mind your business, just shut up and do whatever I tell you.
Right.
And so, when parents and people in authority or telling others, just do as I say, don't question it, it's very dangerous. Even lately with the police officers, and now they have these cams, and we shouldn't be questioning authority. Well, it's a good thing we do, because otherwise there's a whole lot of stuff we would not have seen happening. I actually have and this is somewhat a relative who shared this on Facebook. Her son was incarcerated. It's up in Canada, and he dealt with many mental issues that ended him in prison. And somehow, during his stay in prison, he ended up in solitary confinement for something he didn't do. Now, if he had not taken the time, he actually represented himself and questioned the authority. It cost him a lot in terms of what they did to him, but he was able to do something about it. So he helped us to see beyond what we hear or see about stereotypes about people. And so this person actually took the time to question the authority. He went to the judges, he presented his case, and said to the judge, is this how it's supposed to go, because of who I am, of what I did? And so the judge actually took the time to look at his case. And so if we don't take the time to question what's going on around us, are we just going to be sheep, going to follow people mindlessly without questioning whether it's true or not, whatever the circumstances are?
Yeah, and I think one of the things, as you were talking about that, I think again it comes down to, and I think you said about, are we afraid to ask questions? And right now, here in the USA, there's a lot about us being questioned when and it started actually with not the president we have now, but the previous president, that we were not allowed to question what was going on. So we're still at war. And
actually, it was a lack of patriotism that was said, right?
Right. And that's the thing that is still resonating now. I mean, now we're having someone who is not standing for the national anthem. Well, look, first of all, that is not that's freedom of speech. I do not have to stand for the national anthem. Does that make me a less of a patriot? I don't know. Who knows? What does it even mean to be a patriot? And part of our Constitution, I'm just going to put is the right for free speech. We get to ask questions. We got to say what's on our mind. We get to question our government. Yeah. That's what this Constitution and the United States was supposed to be about, that we have the right to ask these questions. We have the right to ask, why is it that police are shooting all these people? We have the right to ask that question, yeah. Right? But yet, when we are told that, very similar to what happened when you were younger, that just listen to what we're saying, we're the authority.
We know what we're doing. We're the boss here, right?
We're the boss. And that's the same thing when companies, where you have the boss saying this is what we're doing. It's like, wait a minute. So there's a difference between being a leader and being a boss, and being and as a personal leader, like if you're in a family, a step family, midlife woman, relationships at work, you have the right. And sometimes as women, we don't share our voice because of our conditioning, but we have the right to ask questions,
yeah,
and not be reprimanded for those questions. Doesn't say it doesn't happen. We're reprimanded a lot, but we need to be able to say, wait a minute, hold on here.
I just have to share that one of the things I love about our younger generation, like my the younger generation, is that some of them are willingly finding their voice. And I just have to read here something that my oldest granddaughter wrote. I'm just going to share a little piece here. Is something she wrote for school, and she says, one of the things I really like is listening and thinking for myself. This is a 13-year-old girl. And, I like the feeling of learning and thinking for yourself. I love having complex conversations where you're able to, ask these questions and feel free. So somehow, somewhere, I'm hoping that more and more young girls and young women are feeling able to question what they're seeing, whether it's about your body image, your role as a woman, and the reality is that there are no right or wrong answers. I don't know what you think about this, Sharona, but I think that we're all unique. We all have a way of seeing the world based on our personal experiences, but we don't have to believe everything we see or read or hear. And I think when we had that conversation, you talked about healthy skepticism. I think we should cultivate that even more so that we can be more accepting of our differences. And I see this a lot, especially working with stepmoms in women. We think that we all should need to think alike. And I am the first one to say that there are times when I hear other people say things and I'm taken aback, and it's like, especially, I have a specific person in mind that when they think differently from me, it's like, whoa, what's going on? But then I need to remember that I need to question, you know, am I the one thinking? Is my what is it, that is it my thinking, their thinking, and is it okay to think differently?
Well, and I think one of the things is too is, or my sense is I think for and my experience working with midlife women, we have our belief and our values, and those are very, very personal. Yes, some have come from our family culture, some have come from our country's culture, some have come from our religious culture, whatever those are, and we built them over time. So a lot of times when we are in the presence of someone else who has a completely different value system of what we think is right and wrong, what happens is, for a lot of us, and the women that I work with, we think of we either get defensive or we start questioning our own belief system. And I think there's a breakdown in communication and saying, okay, that's what this person believes in. Then, okay, let's take a very good example. I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for I actually wanted to start when I was 14 years old, but the family culture didn't want me to, make it hard for mom to plan meals. So as soon as I left home, I became a vegetarian. Now, for most, now it's different, but when I started out, there was this whole backlash of people around me, not about me wanting to be a vegetarian, and then there was these radical vegetarians who were telling me because I was doing certain things that I wasn't a real vegetarian. And then recently, this just blew my mind, and this is recent. I was standing in line in one of my favorite grocery stores getting my stuff, and I'm semi-vegan. I don't go all out and be vegan. And this gentleman who I will never see again, was standing behind me and goes, "Oh, good for you. You're a vegetarian." I go, "No, I'm what I call a lacto-ovo vegetarian," which is not, now I'm just an ovo. That means I eat eggs. So sue me. Anyway, well, someday, someday you're close. Someday you'll become a complete vegan. And I go, no, what? No, no, what? No. And so he was taken aback by that because, again, his value system was that the right way to really be on this planet is to be a total vegan. I'm going, you know what? I've been a vegetarian all my life. It's okay. So again, there's a breakdown because there was a clash of value beliefs. And I think a lot of times when we read things and stuff like that, they might be, and I'm just saying, they might be playing into our fears. They might be playing into our values. They might be playing into our beliefs. So then we take them to be true. The questioning is, wait a minute, I like the word healthy skepticism. I Because it's just saying, wait, let me take a step back. Let me do a little research. Let me poke a little. Let me find out what else is going on. You know, um, let's be real. We do that when we review movies. We see what other people are saying. We do that when we plan a vacation. We're trying to gather all that data. So the same thing, buying a car. So all it is, healthy skepticism is just taking a step back, especially, and we talked about this, that gut reaction. Something isn't right here. I don't think they're all just taking a step back and saying and asking, wait a minute, is this really true? And we can do that in ourselves when our inner meanie starts doing all that. Rah, 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 we can say, whoa, is this true?
Yeah, and you're as you're sharing this, I'm thinking, especially these days with politics and everything, where if whether it's politics, religion, or relationships, whatever, but especially with politics, we're hearing so much rhetoric, and there's so much bad vibes being shared. Like I heard a video of this person saying that people who didn't believe like him using critical thinking. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, whoa, what is this? Like, you're telling me that if I don't think like you, I'm not using critical thinking? It's like, oh my gosh. And so, there was this piece that I'm thinking, okay, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen to what you have to say. And I'm going to listen with, like you said, a healthy skepticism that maybe there might be a grain of truth. But to tell me or the world or whatever that because we're not thinking like you, we're not critically thinking, it was like, well, thank you for letting me know, because I'm going to actually listen and I'm going to use my critical thinking based on what, as you said, my beliefs and my values, and then I'll decide if, like, it's worth it. And I think we do this a lot. We tend to want people to think like us in order to validate our own thoughts and processes so that we feel good about the way we think.
Yeah, and sometimes we also want to. There's that need to belong, and if somebody is saying something who we may deem as someone who knows what they're talking about, is like, oh well, if I do, maybe I'll get to it. And but here's the truth: nobody. I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial, but nobody thinks exactly as we do.
No.
We might share commonalities, but because of who we are, our life experience, what we believe, what our value, all that may, and I don't want to call it unique or special or whatever. It's just that we are very different in how we view life. I mean, my view of life is very different from how you view life. We find commonality, but because we're, first of all, we live on opposite sides of the USA. We're bi-coastal. We um you're originally from, I think, from
Canada.
Canada,
Yep.
right? So
I'm a
you're
Canadian, and then you're an American,
European,
and
I'm an American. So there's a whole lot very different about that, the way we approach life. But yet we can find our commonality. And here's the other thing, because of who we are, and because of, we can freely voice what we want or need with each other. And then if there's like, well, maybe that's not going to work, we keep having conversations until we find the common
yep,
ground, the level playing field. And I think a lot, and I think this goes back to what, both of us work with relationships and communication in the,
and
either
women,
midlife women or, right,
yep,
and
mom,
stepmoms. But one of the things, it all comes down to how we communicate and what is our relationship with people. And just because they have a lot of letters or names, or they're the leader of a country, or the leader of the boss, or the leader of the whatever, doesn't mean, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about that. I think about the military, what is drilled into the military, and I think sometimes with the police force, is this, uh, I'm the leader, I'm the sergeant, you got to listen to what I, right? There's this, no, wait a minute, Sarge, I don't think this is right. We
no
don't question.
authority. Yep,
And that goes back to our school system here in America, which was based on the military model. So the teacher was the boss, and what we said was done. And so and also businesses were built on that. The boss was and this is what you were going to do. Well, people, we're in the 2016. Let's have more of a matrix. Let's have a lattice. Let's have, and of course we try that, with committees and all that, but it still comes down to,
yep.
yeah.
And as you're talking, like, I see this like in families, like especially with a stepmom coming into a ready-made system, a ready-made family, and she's trying to, set her way, but the family already has their way of thinking, of dealing, of operating, and here she is trying to, inject her part of who she is, and maybe even sharing, hey, listen, I'm seeing that this here is a problem. Like, she's telling dad, like, you're overindulging on your kids. I don't think that's a good idea. And the first thing he says to her is like, you don't like my kids.
Right.
And so instead of having that, the first thing they do is they become defensive.
Right.
So instead of openly questioning, well, am I really overindulging on my kids, or what is the purpose or the reason behind what this person said, or what's their agenda, or whatever, to at least explore what it is that is going on. Is there a grain of truth in whatever that person is saying or referring to? And if there is, well, then it means that you need to look at yourself and say, do I want to do something different? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to stay the same? Or do I need to look at it? And that is the part that's sometimes really hard, is to look at, wow, maybe I do need to do something a little different than what I've been doing. Or, I think that whatever is there's a little grain of truth that can help us to grow and expand on who we are as people.
And it's the same with midlife women who might be empty nesters now, or might be relationships might have changed, and there's a certain way that when you're in a family unit, it's a culture. Let's just be real, it's a culture. And when that culture is disbanded, you take those things that you, but as you're building a new, as you're building a new life in your midlife, because things are changing, things are shifting within you and around you, a lot of times you need to look at that and say, you know, is this, if this is working, what else do I need to do? What can I let go of? And you're right, that's sometimes a hard thing to do, because we feel that if we let go of the things that brought us to this point, we don't know who we are. But we do have a core that I always say there's a core of who we are that no matter where we are, it shows up. It's who we are. We cannot help not do that, or not be that. And recently I was talking to another midlife woman who was going through this, shift at work. And she was in one company, now she's in another company. Well, she had to learn all that culture of that new business. The thing is, who she is innately is going to come out no matter what. And she needed to be comfortable that it might not look like what other people were doing around her, but she needed to still, do what she did best. And that sometimes is vulnerable. And again, it goes into, what is true for me, what, and to find in that new place, and outside and in the support group. Because a lot of times, especially when we're going through either into a new step family or a new business or whatever that is, we feel so isolated and we feel so alone. And if we question, we're afraid that something is going to, will be expelled, will be exiled, something will happen. And so finding this support system around us, our entourage per se, might give us the strength to keep moving forward and ask the questions and listen for the response and discern what is working and what isn't.
Yeah, and to that point, when you're discerning based on your values and beliefs and who you are, not on everybody else's, right?
Right.
Because we're all individuals living together in this community, in this society. And I think if we focus that, as individual, we can all live in together, as long as we respect that we're all different and individuals, and that our purpose is not to harm or to belittle other people, but to get to live in a functioning way that, and accept that we're different, and that it's okay. And we don't need to all be the same. It would be the most boring and not function way of living. I know there are parts of me I would not want to live with me. So if someone else was just like me, I would go insane.
You know, I just remember this old cartoon called SpongeBob SquarePants, and one of the characters was this octopus kind of person, and he decided he couldn't live next to SpongeBob SquarePants, so he went to a community with everybody just like him, and all of a sudden he got so bored because the every day was exactly the same. So popped that image just popped up. That's right, SpongeBob SquarePants. But that's the thing is we are individuals. We are also earthlings, and we also have the same basic needs. It's just how we approach it, how we see it, how we view it, how we perceive it. And it takes time. It takes patience. It takes respect of self and others to say, this is what I'm viewing, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm needing. And then being able to hear, and because really in a conversation, it's more of asking a question and listening.
Yeah.
not scripting the answer. So, so as we wrapped up, is there anything you want to add in? Because we covered a lot, and I have a feeling we might have this conversation again at a later time because this is a really big, really wide, very deep. Anything else you want to add before we
Yeah.
skadoodle?
Doodle. Yeah, just that, if you're a stepmom and as you're listening to this, I invite you to, think about, what you're hearing and reading and have a healthy dose of skepticism, especially when it comes from the ex-wife or your stepkids, and they're sharing all kinds of things, and they're talking about you or whatever, because that's one of the things that I hear a lot of stepmoms dealing with. So take it, question it, question what you're hearing and reading, and just have some healthy skepticism around this, and ask yourself, like, is it something I can let go? Is it something that is actually about me? And, is it, if I do something with is it going to impact my life that much? So just that. And if you're a stepmom and you're looking for help and support within your stepfamily, I'd love to help you. You can follow me at stepmomcoach.com. Use hashtag stepmomcoach or hashtag stepmomwisdom, and you'll be able to see different places. And I also have 4 e-courses that you can take, and you'll find them on my website. Now, Sharona, how about you? What are some of the things that a midlife woman would seek you for, help with you to have a better, thriving life?
Thanks, Claudette. And one of the things as a midlife woman, you might be at that point just internally and externally asking yourself, is this true? Is this is this, what I'm reading, what I'm hearing? Am I really in midlife crisis? What what the heck is going on here? And so, if you may want to have, especially if you're going through a midlife career change or a midlife relationship change or a midlife health change or financial change, whatever that change may be, whatever that transition or transformation may be, I would love to have a conversation with you to see, how I can support you on your journey so that you can thrive wholeheartedly in body, mind, and spirit. So you can reach me at and you can have a healthy dose of skepticism as you talk to me. I'm really good, ask me questions. Sometimes I don't have the answer, but together we can figure it out. So you're not alone on this journey. You have at least one faithful sidekick. And you'll build more. So you can reach me at midlifewomendancingwithchange.com. You can my email is Sharona at midlifewomendancingwithchange.com. Hashtag midlifewomendancingwithchange. You can find me on all the social media. Also the hashtag emotional impact, because one of the things is as women, especially with midlife women, we go through not just the physical, the spiritual, the mental, but we also have the emotional component of transition and transformation. And we work through how have those emotions not be your enemy, but give you the strength to keep moving forward. So that's, and I would love to hear from you. And we would love to hear from you by, commenting below.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're a stepmom or midlife woman, comment below. Let us know what you thought of this show, this episode. What are some of the things you question about, or that you hear and wonder like what's going on with us. So we'd love to hear. And again, share it with your family, your friends, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episodes.
Yes, and subscribe.
Yes, subscribe.
Like us and subscribe. We like to be liked. Like us and subscribe.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Sharona. Thank you for everyone for being here, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.